En el mundo ahora, en my país, en Estados Unidos, mucho cosas es duro, es más duro ahora. ¿Por qué? Porque Brian es duro o difícil en Estados Unidos ahora. Buena pregunta. En mi opinión, mucho cosas es difícil en mi país ahora uh, por la um, gobierno, la economía, eh, difícil en todo. Uh, Me honesto. The truth is, a lot of black Americans and black people, as well as all non-white people, but it's especially true for black Americans worldwide. When it comes to our relationships, it's a theory that I once heard by Neely Fuller Jr. stating that we are not allowed to have functional relationships due to the system of white supremacy. Now, many people will point to the fact and say things as though when they want to diminish or state negative stereotypes and say, oh, black families uh, are broken, fatherlessness, etc. However, they never point to the reasons why these things exist. On contrary, many black men, despite institutional injustices, historical injustices, many black men do the very best that they can with the resources and the opportunities given to them. So I'm going to speak about the men that I knew or that I've known along the way. A lot of men went to trade school, the military, and or college. Some people did all three. Many black men have attempted to become entrepreneurs, start businesses, small businesses. Some people have even worked for corporations. What we have found is that if men don't have the financial resources, it's going to be hard for them to carry the weight or the load of having a family, right? That's either true or false. Now we're seeing in the white dominant society, especially in the United States, but in the Western culture as well, many white families are experiencing the things that black families experienced in the 70s, 80s, 90s, where lack of opportunities because of job outsourcing, not getting a return on the investment when it comes to college, trade, and or military. And so many people are left feeling and thinking that things are quite dystopian in our reality. Divorce rates, more and more people are not getting married. More and more people are not entering long-term relationships. In the white community, it's a lot of single family, single female-led families now. Divorce rates are through the roof. A lot of men fear getting married. So what once used to be a stereotype for black has now become the reality for most people. Now that's either true or it's false. Now, my perspective, going back to Fuller, Fuller stated that we have three choices when it comes to relationships because we are in a weakened state. He argued that we are in captivity, and since we're in captivity, we're in a situation where we can have tacky relationships, um, and I might mess up quoting him because I'm paraphrasing. We can have tacky relationships. Um, the next one would be like basically degrading relationships, right? Where it's just debauchery. Then the next one is you're just basic just dysfunctional, right? Because we're such in a weakened state, he argued that in order for marriage to exist, we would have to live in a system of justice. Because when you start dealing with love, truth, sharing, promises, commitments, we would need a system of justice to enforce that, to guarantee that, and we don't have that, regardless of the color of your skin, but especially if you're black. Historically, you haven't had that. Even if you're Latino or Asian, you haven't had that either. Okay? So, we're in a situation where, let's say, you are naive to all of this. All right? And this is how most people are. Most people are actually naive. I think that due to the internet, social media, more people are having these deeper level conversations and they're putting them out in the open, right? And one of the things people are noticing or realizing is that having a relationship in the so-called first world country is very difficult, especially if you are under the age of 40. It is extremely difficult. Not saying that if you're over 40, it's not as difficult, but if you're under 40, it's extremely difficult. Why? Because the younger people are overworked and underpaid. The young men are working extremely long hours every day, and they're not getting by. And these same men, no matter how hard they work, are being called lazy, unmotivated, unskilled, regardless if they have a trade or trades up, regardless if they have a degree or degrees up, regardless if they have military experience. Men are judged by how much money they have, not simply but by what education level they manage to reach. So a lot of men, no matter how hard they work, cannot outpace a system that's meant to keep a majority of men in check. So it's going to be really difficult for men to have families moving forward. It's probably always been difficult for different reasons, but currently it's going to be extremely difficult for financial reasons. Okay? The world that we grew up in, if you're 35 or older, seeing grandmother, grandfather having 6, 7 children, a lot of aunts, a lot of first cousins, a lot of second cousins, big families, that world is dying. That world is dying. Families are not going to be as big. Me, I have 3 brothers and 1 sister. All of my brothers, including me, we all have 1 child. My sister has multiple children, this is what I'm saying is going to become rare for men to have multiple children. You see? Then we get into the situation of resources. Let's say a man is able to spend 12 to 15 years pulling himself up from poverty, you guys. Let's say a man spends 12 to 15 years and pulls himself out of poverty, you guys. It's going to be really hard for him to have trustworthy relationships with other people, because now now he's going to remember when he was broke, when he was poor. Now luckily he has that one girl and she's going to have a ton of flaws. But if she's a real person, maybe they can work it out. But like I said, we have to work so hard. So it goes back to the tacky situation. Like Fuller said, we end up in these tacky arrangements. So the arrangement is tacky. Why? Because it's not as it should be. She's not as she should be. I'm not as I should be. He's not as he should be. No one that you know is as they should be. No, even the people that you would consider great are not as they should be. They're incredibly flawed because the system dictates that. Okay? Now, what's the solution? Okay? That's enough about the problem, some of the problems. What's the solution? The solution should be create a world and a society where no one is mistreated. That's the ideal. You're not mistreated because your sexuality. You're not mistreated because of your country of origin, the color of your skin, your religion. You're not mistreated at all or discriminated against based on anything that we can find to discriminate because of differences. We would like to create a merit-based society, but in order to have a fair and just merit-based society, we would have to create a world where resources are distributed and people have an opportunity. Now, do I think that some people are going to do more with their resources than other people? Yes. Do I think that but I think that even if a person had, let's say, one person take their resources and builds a mansion, the other person takes their resources and buys a townhouse. I think that we should live in a world where both of those options are seen as success. You get what I'm saying? Now, one of the things that I recently read is that this current generation, people 30 years old, 35 years old, 40, we are one of the first generations that's poorer than our parents. So if we take the people that's 60, 65, 70 years old, and we go back to when they were 30 years old, they have more material wealth than what we currently have. So let's multiply that times 10. Imagine 10 generations from now, your descendants, every generation is poorer than the previous generation. That's a frightening thought, isn't it? That's very frightening. And we have a system that's so top heavy. You have these mega wealthy people at the top, people with nothing at the bottom. I repeat, you have these mega wealthy people at the top, and you have people with nothing at the bottom. So I would like to hear your thoughts. Tell me, why do you think young people, especially young black people, are often criticized for not working hard enough or them being lazy when statistically a lot of young black people are working around the clock, and I'm one of them. I don't do any drugs. I don't have any drugs in my system. I don't have a criminal record. I graduated college. I have a trade. I have different professional licenses. I'm 31 years old. I never been incarcerated. I've traveled to different countries. I have exposure, and yet I would say that I'm still struggling. Okay? Now, my next question is the white people in the dominant society, and I say dominant because they're the majority. Why are they struggling? Why are the young white males are struggling? Okay, that's another question. Because okay, if the black males are struggling, we can see that. The white males are struggling, we can see that. We hear them. And we see the result of their anger. And we see the results of the black male's anger too. Okay, the women are struggling. Latino women are struggling. White women are struggling. Black women are struggling. Okay, so this is where we get into how do we create a society where no one is mistreated and no one is discriminated against, and we create a system where the person or the people who need the most constructive help receive it. That's a question. How do we create a better, more equitable future for more people that's not so top heavy? Next, my question would be, if each generation is going to become poorer than the next generation, and we live in a capitalist society, what's the end goal for all of the people that's not going to own anything? They're only going to be consumers. And each generation, they're going to get poorer and poorer and poorer and own less and less and less. Peace.